Hi, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, Closing Deals in Heels. I am your host, Kayla Hodges, and today we have a badass powerhouse of a woman. Lo Silver is in the house. And not only is this woman crushing it, but she's also changing the way that you show up online, show up in DM conversations, being real, being authentic. We connected in a great way. And so I just want you to hear her insight today. I'm going to go into some questions about her background, as well as to how she does everything with so much intention, so much intentionality. This is going to be a fantastic conversation. Can't wait to see you inside the episode. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, Closing Deals in Heels. This is your weekly big sister advice on mastering influence, embracing your femininity, and handling any challenge that life throws your way. First of all, I just want to honor the fact that we're sitting here in front of each other, that you had a willingness to come all the way to Miami to be on this podcast. So shout out to you. We were talking a little bit, maybe like a couple weeks ago, about the difference between women being collaborative versus competitive. And I would love to hear just your insight on that and what you're standing for in terms of being a woman in business and what you're trying to, create a vision for other women.
Well, because I have an athletic background and I've been a part of sports for a long time, I feel like you're used to being in competition, but
Mm,
also in collaboration because it's like the sport I played playing soccer. You have to work with 10 other individuals on the field to get, to win the game.
mm-hmm.
So I think, and then also you have like backup players who are in the same position that you're in that you are constantly competing against.
Mm,
But also, like, if you look at it like competition instead of like collaboration, then that's when you lose. So I think like playing, at that level and being amongst like some of the best players in the world, essentially they have to make you better and you have to make them better
mm,
in order for the whole team to win. So it's hard because like you have people who are playing the exact same position that you're playing
yeah.
and like you're competing for that spot, but ultimately it's a very deep collaboration because you all are still working together towards that goal. So I think like I'm used to the idea of working alongside other people
Mm-hmm.
to get to the end result and making each other better. So it's more of just like how do you make the person next to you or around you better and ultimately it makes you better. So it's
Yeah.
not so much like competition as it is like really collaboration and maybe you're not playing, like maybe I'm playing over you, but I'm going to make you better.
I'm playing over you, but I'm
Like,
gonna make you better.
yeah.
And I think that that's a really interesting perspective because most people don't think like that. Most people, as we were talking, especially like in the sales world, have these huge, massive egos and they want to be the best and they want everyone else to also know that they're the best. And there's
Yeah.
not a room for seeing anybody else in terms of a team. So I think that that's really amazing that you think that. Let's go into this professional soccer background. It's very, very hard to play soccer.
Yes.
It's very, very, very difficult, especially if you don't start off learning it young, right? Can you go into a little bit about your background there and how you got to a professional level? Like, that's not something easy to do.
Yeah, so growing up, I learned about soccer from my older sister, Brittany.
Mm,
She played, and of course, like your older sister, it does something, you wanna
yeah.
do something. So she started doing it first, then I got into it because of her, and, growing up, like, that was, like, my main focus. I did people who know soccer, like, I was doing club, I was doing high school, I was doing what's called ODP, which is, like, the national kind of pool for soccer. So I was doing those 3 around at the same time.
Mm,
And so kind of started that early, like early on. And then into high school, I did that. I went off to play in college at the University of Florida, go Gators, and played there. And then while I was in college, I actually got called up to the national team. So those of you guys who don't know me, I'm biracial, I'm black and white. And so on my mom's side, I'm Jamaican. And so I represented Jamaica at the Women's World Cup
wow.
in 2018. But in college, I got called up. It was like 2000. It's always like a year in advance because you have to qualify for the World
Mm,
Cup. But I got called in. I think it was like 2012, 2013. We didn't qualify that round for
mm,
the World Cup, like, that year, but that was, like, the first time I had kinda gotten up to the World Cup at the same time or excuse me, had gotten called up to the national team, at the same time that I'm playing collegiate soccer, and so my team was, like, top 10 in the country, so it was, like, really competitive, And then to play, like, for your national team is, it's a
Yeah.
whole other level too. So, did that, and then, we didn't qualify that round, graduated from UF, and then 8 days later, I moved to Sweden and played on my first professional
Okay.
team. Yeah, overseas, did that for a bit. I
What
lived
was
in, like
how like, why Sweden? What would cause you to be like, "I'm gonna go to Sweden today?"
well, soccer is not as, like, prominent in the US. It
Yeah.
is, like, getting bigger right now, but it's way bigger in other countries. So, Sweden has a really great league. I went over there and played, and then, since then, I had gone to, like, Norway, France, Scotland. I've lived in a few different countries and played, and then played here in the US as well. So, I played with, the Orlando Pride, the Houston Dash, so
That's
did
great.
that for a little bit, and then, yeah, like, kinda started my business endeavors while I was doing that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so do you feel like all of the discipline and working out like that, I didn't do soccer, but I did ballet. So, definitely 5, 6, 7-hour days, feet
Yeah.
bleeding, feeling like I was gonna die, but loving it at the same time. Um, actually, before I go into how it bleeds into business, do you feel like you had something inside of you? Like, what was that drive? Because for me, it was pain. Like, I had been through so much, and dance was like my outlet of like anywhere I could be free, where I can finally express myself. Do you feel like that had any, like, correlation to you with anything that you've been through where it was an outlet? Like, something has to drive you to where you would push your body to the
Yeah.
extent where you would go to the World Cup, you know?
Yeah. Well, funniest story, I feel like there's all, like, traumas and triggers and all these things that we have. I think I had to grow up really quickly as a child,
Mhm.
and so, like, I had to be, kind of like my own leader and just, like, dictate my own life and kinda take control of things. So, like, now as adults, like, you start to see that manifest where, like, you have to control everything all the time. Working on that. But, I think that that was a really great, like, skill at the time for me, and so my focus more so just came from the fact that, like, I just wanted to be the best at what I did, like, that was just my mindset, and honestly, when I went to college, funny enough, I was, like, the worst of the best.
What does that mean?
So, like so the people on my team, because I wasn't we were top 10 in the country at the time. So, because of that, we had some of the best players in the world. Like, we
Mhm.
had international students, we had people, all over the US who were some of the best athletes. So, I was the worst of the best.
Wow.
And so I actually went to Florida on a full scholarship for my education.
Mm.
And I actually got when what happens is when you get a scholarship with soccer, there's, like, multiple degrees. You can come in as, like, a full scholarship, you can come in, like, partial. I just got books. So, like, they paid for my books, like,
Mhm.
those books on the wall, like, for my classes, like, that's what it was. So I got that, and I had a full scholarship because I did well in school.
Mm.
And then it wasn't until my 2nd year that I got a call and ended up getting a full scholarship for soccer
Soccer.
because I came in and, like, performed, but I was the worst of the best, essentially. So there was 25 girls on the team, and I was, like, number 25.
Mm.
So I didn't come in as, like, supposed to be a starter. I didn't come in, trying like, I wasn't supposed to be this player.
How would you change in, like, a year from being the worst of the best to getting a full scholarship?
Yeah, I was a lot of working out. I had been working out a ton, but it was just different, and these girls, like, had more resources, I think, than I had
Mm.
going into it, which doesn't make it an excuse, but it's more of, like, recognizing those are the things that you have to do to be successful, and I didn't know. So I just didn't have that knowledge, that's all.
Mm.
And then when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I'll figure this out." So then I kind of put myself in the position or found the resources to do it. So between that 1st year and 2nd year, I came back fitter, I was faster, I was already, like, more like, my skill set was more around my intelligence with the sport than
Mhm.
it was physically because 'cause I'm very short, so being a short, like, not super fast player doesn't
Mhm.
make for a great soccer player. So I had to be, like, really intellectual and, like, technical, and so I had that piece, but I missed, like, some of the physicality aspects that I think you'd have to be successful at that level.
Mhm.
So, yeah, between those 2 years, I came back in and, like, had that, and then it gave me a lot more confidence, and then when I came in, I just, like, you know, did my thing, and I think that that allowed me the opportunity to get that scholarship,
Yeah.
so then I actually left school on both, like, a full scholarship for my education and for soccer, so I essentially left school, I think, with, like, $35,000,
Like, you got paid.
like, saved, yeah.
There you go. I've
Yeah,
never heard that. Have you ever heard anybody go to
yeah,
school and make money with it? That's great.
yeah.
Okay, but you said something really, really important though. You said that you didn't have the right tools to become successful, right? And I think that when it comes to business as well, there's a skill set to learn how to perform and to learn what works and what doesn't, and having the willingness to look at yourself and take responsibility and be like, hey, like, this is where I'm faulting in, and go learn it and then go apply it, which is what you do right now and what you're teaching so many people how to do. Can you just give us like a little bit about your background and like how you got to where you're at right now in this moment and like what you're doing?
I just wanna share the idea that, like, you're right, I didn't have the resources, but and I think that that is such a true thing for a lot of people. It's not like we're choosing to not know something, like, sometimes you just don't have those resources, but you can't allow for that to be an excuse or keep you from where you wanna go.
Mhm.
So, can you put yourself in positions to, like, learn something for free or observe it, and then see how you can manipulate your situation to be able to get yourself in the same circumstance? Like, a lot of the girls, like I said, that I played against, I came from, like, kinda interesting background, but I think, like, at one point, like, we were, like, evicted from my childhood home.
Mm.
So it's like, there's different things that come into play. So I didn't have, those resources, and then my parents didn't know, like, how to do those things either because they didn't play soccer. Both my parents are marathon runners. They'd be running for days, but, like, when it comes to soccer, like, they don't know their left foot from their right foot. So, I think when I saw representation of what I wanted to be doing,
Mhm.
it helped me to identify that, but then it was my job from there to see that, and then to put myself in the position to go get it.
Yeah, to have the awareness of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, I just felt like that was something that
Mhm.
a lot of people who are trying to build a business or get better in an aspect in their life in some sort of way, it's really easy to find the excuses or to compare ourselves and say, well, this person has this and that person has this. It's like you can look at someone else and say, oh, I really enjoy that. Like, or I like what this looks like. I want to be in that position. And then to go out there and figure out how to do it. You know what I mean? I think that that's super important. So
I had a mentor tell me at one point that if you see anything or anyone or any experience that you want to have and you're looking at it and you're like, why don't I have that yet? It's almost like God, universe is like showing you permission of what's possible for you. So instead of being like, oh, that's not fair, it's like, ooh, thank you. Yes, I want that in my life. Like, I will have that. It's almost like showing you what's possible. So yes, I do believe that there is, almost like a hesitancy with comparing ourselves to others, especially if you haven't been dealt the best hand of cards. I definitely wasn't. And sometimes it can feel almost a little discouraging because you try to figure it out and then you don't,
yeah.
you
I think
know?
that timing is, like, a really big part of it too. Like, sometimes you're not ready for your blessing, and if you try to get it beforehand, like, you're not prepared.
Mm,
So it's like, it's not always about being first, it's about, like, just being prepared for when that moment does come, and so sometimes if you're forcing the issue or trying to manipulate things around you to, like, create the opportunity, like, you might actually squander it because you're not actually ready for it. So I think timing is, like, a really important aspect to those things. I can see that a lot in my own business, like, in retrospect, looking back and being like, "I want it faster. I want it quicker. I want it like this. I want it like that."
yeah,
If I had what I wanted, the blessing at the time, during the time I asked for it, I
yeah.
would've been fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, would not have been ready for it.
How do you feel like what you've learned in soccer has been able to translate into business in terms of like the discipline and like the willingness to figure it out even when it's hard, or the willingness to push through the days that you feel uncomfortable?
I have a saying, like, in our team core values called DWR.
Okay.
So it stands for do what's required.
Mm,
And I feel like whenever anyone on my team, even in my family, even in my following, like people who message me and they're like, I'm just this, or I'm trying to do this, or it's like all this kind of like soft language
mm,
around doing what's required. I'm like, feel like should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And I'm like, like if you could have, I think Alex Ramosi says this, but if you could have given yourself X amount of more hours to get something done, would you have changed anything? And if the answer is yes, then it's not done.
mm,
So my answer to a lot of those things is like to do what's required. And I think I learned that and I actively participated in that because when you're playing Division 1 soccer or you're playing for the like in a World Cup, I don't get those options or choices. When you're a business owner, you can do whatever the fuck you
yeah.
want. Like you can choose to sleep in, you can choose to not do the work, you can choose to be lazy. No one's holding you accountable.
Hmm.
No one's like gun to your head, like you better fucking get, they're not
Yeah.
doing that. It's like you have to hold yourself accountable. When you're in those environments, though, it's a business for them too.
Yeah.
So, like, I have to show up, if I don't, there's repercussions to that, there's a team of people that are waiting on me for this, like, there's rules I have to abide by, and it's someone else's system. So I think that's almost, like, easier to be more
Mhm.
disciplined in than it is in, like, entrepreneurship because it does rely heavily on you to, like, set those expectations and those boundaries and to, like, stick to it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you are in a team environment like I was with at UF or playing soccer, my team is also depending on me. So if I'm not showing up and I'm not doing the shit like I'm supposed to be doing, then you will see that tenfold on the field. You'll see that in the team, changes the culture. So the discipline is like it's so regimented and it's so rooted in like holding yourself accountable, but then you also have other people who you are responsible for holding accountable as well.
Yeah.
And I think that yeah, I mean, waking up at 4:30 in the morning at 19 years old to go train, and then afterwards having to, like, go to class for multiple hours of the day, like, all day, and then to in the middle of the day, go back to the gym and do a full lift,
Yeah.
and then go back and do study hall hours and, like, that were required to get done, and then packing to leave, and then having to leave on a Friday, missing classes, like, you have to stay on your stuff, and if you don't, then you fall behind.
Mhm.
So, that plus, like, national team representation at the same time, like, being in school, competing at that level, but then also having to, like, travel to South Africa, Panama, Costa Rica, Haiti, Jamaica
Gosh.
while doing those things. If you don't have discipline, like, you're screwed, and I think that was something that really became regimented, but people don't know this, like, they're like, "Oh, wow, you're so blessed. You had it easier before because like, now you're an entrepreneur, so you can see, like, oh, you had the discipline,
Mm.
so, like, it's easier for it to be transferred here." But the difference is, like, you're still responsible now to set this on your own
Yeah.
versus someone else
Telling
showing you how to do it, and, that's different, and then, like, then the pressure of, like, actually executing all the things,
Mhm.
so
I think if you do it long enough, you don't realize that you're a disciplined person. You just are doing it until people around you and they're like, "Oh my gosh, do you ever stop?" Like, you get so much done or like, "Holy crap, like what's going on?" I know like from my experience with my team around me, like I just go, I'm like, "Hey, we're gonna get this done." They're like, by tomorrow?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it all needs to be done. I need this now." And we just don't even think about it anymore, versus being like, "Hey, today, I really need to make sure that I'm on my stuff today. I need to get A, B, and C done." It's starting to, like, ingrained in who you are. You just do and produce,
Mhm.
I don't know if that's my experience
Yeah,
with myself.
I think that that is the do what's required mindset that I have, like, that's a major core value, like, if anyone on my team asks me anything, it's very easy to be like, "Hey, like, should we do" like, I'm like, "Do what's required." "Hey, like, I think I need" like, "Should we do what's required?"
Mm,
"Do you know if we should do what's required?" And then if I'm like, "Is it required?" "Yeah." "Okay, then do it." So it becomes, like, a really nice reminder
yeah,
because I might like, as soon as I say that to someone, like, I'll say that to me, and she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Alright, cool." Like, get back to me whenever that's done
yeah,
and do what's required and make sure it's, the standard of excellence, which is, like, another
mhm,
big thing for us too, so.
I like that. What's your other core values? Now I'm curious.
Um, we have the speed is king one as well. Speed is king, do what's required, collaborative autonomy.
Mm,
So like we all are working together towards the same mission,
mm,
but we have the autonomy in the role. And so what that means is like, again, if like Mia or Jazz came to me and their role is something, I'm here to be alongside you and help you. So if there's a stopping point and you are stuck and you cannot move on past that point, you tag me and we work together on it, right? Or we all individually have our role that we have to do. We have to fulfill this thing because it's what the team needs for you to get your thing done, then helps us, like, move forward. If you don't, the team lacks, like,
yeah,
we get stuck. So the collaborative autonomy piece is, like, the ability to collaborate towards and move towards one singular mission, but having the autonomy in the role, and that's where I'm really big in my team on creating thought leaders and not having employees. Like, I don't refer to my team as employees. It's like everyone is a leader in their space. They have the autonomy to,
yeah,
like, rock their shit and
yeah,
just be great at it, and then we're gonna come together, including me. Like, Lo is the business. Like, she's cute, we're all growing her, she's, still just in her,
yeah,
young age, still just maturing, but then there's, like, the team around her supporting her, and that includes me, and I'm Lauren, so I am an employee of my own business still, and I have to, like, treat Lo, like, with respect and build her and feed her and do all the things, and so when I can communicate that to my team in that way, they understand that it's not me, so it's not speaking to the boss, it's like she's the boss, And if you're coming to me consistently being like, "Can I do this? Should I do this? Should I do that?" I'm like, I have my own job.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta do my own I don't have time for your thing.
Yeah.
Like, Lo hired you to kill at your thing, and she hired me to kill at my thing, and we're all collaboratively working together towards growing growing Lo.
Hey, beautiful. Just want to take one little second of your time to interrupt this podcast. First of all, I just want to honor you for showing up for yourself. Like, thank you so much for watching and for listening. Like, you have no idea how much it means to me. If you can just take just 1 second of your time, a little favor, and please hit the subscribe button. Please leave a review, comment on this, and share it to another woman that you know. We as women get to really stand and honor each other. And we do that by lighting fires at others' hearts. Sometimes a woman just needs to know that you believe in her and that she's capable. So please send this to her. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking that out of your time and doing that for us. You have no idea how much it helps and how much it helps us bring a really amazing guest on this show and get it out to more and more people. So thank you again. I will see you back in the show. Yeah, I believe that really great leadership is your ability to see somebody and really believe in their possibility. Right, and then, not waver when they don't believe in themselves. Just continuously instilling that belief, getting them to be resourceful, right? Versus them coming to you like, "I'm not sure." I'm like, "Okay, well, go try to figure it out and come back to me. Come back to me with 3 solutions, like, let's see which one you picked." You know? I want you to fuck up.
Yeah.
I want you to fuck up as many times as possible because without the permission to fail, like, you're never gonna learn, and just, like, having a willingness for there to be space there for you to mess up, you know? Because I've had people on me and on my ass to, like, make sure that I'm, like, walking on eggshells. I'm like, "I hope I don't mess anything up for them," and it gets icky,
Yeah.
you know? So I love that. I think that your team is great, and I like that you separate your brand for yourself from you.
Yeah.
Like, what would cause you to do that?
Yeah, I think, um, it allows for me to physically demonstrate the separation of my role in the business
Mm,
to my team. Like, I work for her. I don't it's Lo and Lauren, right? So you're like,
yeah,
"Oh, like, Lauren's your name." Yeah, Lauren Amanda Silver, very white, very Jewish. I'm half white, it's great. So it's like Lauren works for Lo, and so when I can communicate that to the team, that's where, like, it clicks for them that they can't come to me with their things, like, where they would think that they had to speak to the boss to get the permission, and so it
mhm,
allows them to be a true thought leader where it's like, "Yo, we have to figure this out together."
yeah,
Because we have to build a business. And then when they can see me as a peer instead of as the boss, like, it doesn't like, don't get it twisted, like, there's an understanding of how this works, but it's like,
yeah,
at this point in my business, I'm not running, multiple departments, this isn't like a Layla Hormozy show type thing. It's like, I'm still in the thick of it. I'm still an employee of my own business as much as I'm the business owner. So I'm creating systems and, all the pieces to run the business as a business owner. But that's like Low. And then there's
yeah,
Lauren, and I'm still an employee of my business. I still have to be in the fucking nitty gritty. I got to be in my DMs. I have to be on the sales calls. I have to be doing the trainings. I have to be doing self reflection. I have to be reviewing my sales calls.
yeah,
I'm still doing all those things. Like, it's not this like, I'm cute sitting on the beach all day, which I might still be doing, but I'm reviewing sales calls or I'm, like, I'm tapping it with clients. I'm in the thick of it. So I think when I started to communicate that to my team in that way is when they had a real like light bulb moment of like, oh, like she has so many other roles and responsibilities too, because she's also hired by the business.
mhm,
It's not just like, oh, she's a boss and I have to approve everything through her. So
yeah,
it allowed them to really be like the thought leaders I really want them to be versus the task rabbits. Like, I'm not interested in someone being like, what color should this be? I'm like, what color do you think it should be? Like, what do you like? What do you think speaks to the
yeah,
brand? What do you think speaks to the voice? Do you think that this represents us well? Does it need more time? What do you think? Is this your best representation of work? Like, I can pose the questions back
mhm,
and ask them to kind of reflect on those things instead of mm, it conditions that behavior. If you come and
yeah,
ask and I answer, then it'll be that sort of thing. And it's like
every
that,
time, yeah.
yeah, teaching a man to fish versus, it's like, go do it. You go do it on your own.
Yeah, I think Tony Robbins, he talked about how in all of his businesses, because he owns a lot of businesses, that he teaches leaders and puts them all on the same vision. So it's like everyone's creating the vision together of like what you want, and he instills that vision and then continuously, like what you're saying, like has them come back, like, is this in alignment with the vision? And keeps pushing them, pushing them, pushing them to grow to where they feel like it's part of their personal mission to make this vision come alive. And when you have everyone on the same team like that, everyone believing in the same thing like that, you can shift way faster because it's part of an identity piece versus just like a job,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I think that's great that you're doing that. I want to go into a little bit about, you're really passionate about selling in the DMs. And one thing that I really like that you do is you're very blunt and to the point,
Yeah.
you know? Just say it exactly how it is. Now, in the DMs, what I find is that sometimes people are not as like vulnerable or as open in just a random DM conversation. And sometimes I like to add, pictures or videos or voice messages and really try to humanize that experience. But I want to know from you, because you just started doing this in like COVID, right? Where you went into it. Like, what would cause you to like, I'm gonna master this and I really want to figure out how humans talk inside of the DM conversations, and like I really want to be able to connect with them in such a way to where they want to buy from me. Like, can you give us all your insight?
Yeah. Sales, as we all know, is like so psychological. And
Mhm.
I'm like a very analytical person overall. So I think that that's one part of it. I also believe, and this is about to get like real deep, but I do think it's important you know who you are
Mm,
and you can do the work with yourself first. The reason my skill isn't sales, my skill is the ability to see transparently what is going on with someone. Like,
mm,
you can front face and present something, and I know exactly, like, what's happening beneath it all, and I'm like, "Stop with the bullshit," and that's why I come across, like, very straightforward and bold and kind of intense. It makes some people uncomfortable. Usually the people who are uncomfortable are the ones who feel like I'm seeing them,
mm,
and some people, like that, and then other people, it's, like, challenging for them, and they're experiencing that trauma. I think, someone who I really admire, his name's Peter Crone, but he has this quote that says, um, "The universe, God, whatever you believe in, will constantly present you with people and circumstances that will show you where you're not healed."
mm,
And I think it's like when I'm having conversations around sales, I have the enough awareness and consciousness of myself to be able to, like, read through the bullshit or see between the lines. So there's power in your words, and I'm really big on, like, being intentional with what you're saying. Like, a big word that we use in our team is brevity. As soon as someone starts getting mad long-winded, I'm like, "Brevity." Like, what do you like, mean what you say and say what you mean. So, when I'm in my DMs, I'm very intentional about the words I'm using and how I'm using them. I'm also intentional with, like, making it very conversational. So, I will say that if there's one thing that I wanna be known for, I guess, in sales, yes, there are people who teach you, like, on-call sales processes, I do that too. Like, with the one-call close mastery, I do that. Um, we can teach you how to downsell, we can do all the things, but in the DMs, because of how I started, I was very interconnected with my audience. I created a lot of content. I focused more on the personal branding aspect. And so when I'm in my DMs, I treat those conversations the same way I would with you. So even in this conversation that we're having where I'm saying or like or we're having like a little laugh,
mhm,
if you're to transcribe that into copy or like text into DMs, how do you physically turn like your voice is just audio hitting your wind, like your not windpipe, but like whatever, however that works. But it's like your audio is just like noise
mhm.
and it formulates words. It's like, how do you take the audio and turn it into text and make it sound the same as if I was saying it to you? So I'm very intentional when I'm having conversations in my DMs because I want you to hear me and hear my voice, not read my text.
Yeah.
So I learned really quickly by having thousands and thousands and thousands of DM conversations with people what worked and what didn't work. So really people just hire me to cut down that learning curve where I can show you like, hey, you sound like a bot here. Or, "Hey,
Mhm.
like, you sound like a psychopath." Or, "Hey, like, you sound like an asshole." Like, you're not meaning to, but it's coming across, like, really fucked up.
Yeah.
This person probably feels a little bit insecure now because of what you said. We don't understand the power of the language that we use,
Mhm.
but in text, you have to be incredibly intentional and careful with the words you're using. And I think, like, that's the mastery is, like, around words.
I believe that you're not responsible just for like your intention, but also for the perception that you're giving others. And we do this also in terms of like learning tonality. There's multiple different tonalities. And sometimes you really believe that you sound really concerned and empathetic. and you sound like you're, like, being really bitchy, you know what I mean? And it's not coming across, like, intentionally, like, in a way where you're trying to be mean, but it's coming across that way. Or maybe you're trying to be skeptical, but you seem like you're really just, like, lost in your conversation. And I think that you have to practice that and really ingrain that inside of you so that's a knowingness, right? And you do that with data, like you just said, thousands of messages. This one's working, this one doesn't. You have to have data. You have to try things out. You have to be willing to fail, right? You have to be willing to see what's going to work and willing to keep testing it, keep changing it, which is what I do a lot. I wanted to ask you, I consistently am changing my scripts. I'm consistently changing the verbiage and the language that I'm saying with people or how I communicate because I feel that humans are continuously evolving and liking salespeople less and less. And so when you come off really salesy, they can feel it, you know? So are you changing your stuff or do you see a pattern then like, oh, I need to fix this? Or what's your process on that?
The process is, like I alluded to earlier, it's like, can you just take what you're saying to me here and put that in text?
So give us an example.
I was going to. So, like,
Okay.
imagine, like, you and I are talking right now, we're just, like, going back and forth, like, "Hee hee, ha ha," whatever, right? If I'm like, "Yeah, like, tell me a little bit more about your struggle, like, what's been happening, Kayla? Like, why do you feel like this is happening like this, that, and the third?" You can see my body, you can hear my tone, like, I'm actually empathetic, I'm expressing empathy. If I were to write, "What's your number one struggle that has you reaching out?" in a text, it'll sound like this. So, what's your number one struggle that has you reaching out to me? Or it'll sound, "So, Kayla, comma, what's the number one struggle that you're experiencing that has you reaching out to me?" Versus if I'm like, "Kayla, all capital letters, exclamation point,
Mhm.
girl, GIRL, comma, what is going on with your DM situation, your sales process, and what has you struggling that made you want to reach out to me in the first place? Let's fix this shit."
Mm.
So if like me in person, how I just said to like to you what I said, the way that I said it, it's like you can hear the empathy, like you can hear that I care. In messaging, it's like you have to be able to physically read something and hear the voice in your head of how
Yeah.
someone's saying it. This is really helpful if you've defined your personal brand and your content already. Um, Not to get like super content focused, but I know for a lot of like your audience and people who are listening to this is where more when you hear people say, like, the more forward you can be in your content, the more transparent you can be, the easier it is to sell, and that's because it's very difficult to keep a facade. So if you're online a certain way, but you talk a different way, so when you're in the DMs, the conversation sounds different, that is where the distrust is built because the gap between what they saw in the content and the text that they're reading is so big that it's like, "Who is this person?"
Do you see that a lot?
100%. That's why it's like when I'm in my videos and being like, "Stop fucking being a loser," and, like, "Stop like, sound like a fucking weirdo," and then I text someone, I'm like, "Hey, what the fuck is up?" They're not gonna be like, "I can't believe she just said that." It's the same energy, same voice, so that really helps to establish that early on, or I'm, you know, Jersey Shore reference here with Sammy, but she's like, "I'm the sweetest bitch you're gonna meet." Like, I'm gonna cut you deep with something, like, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, yo, this is the truth," but I'm gonna say it in a loving, caring way,
Yeah.
and so, in my sales process, like, that's the same energy I bring, so you see it in my content where I'm gonna speak on facts, speak the truth, I'm gonna be probably a little bit more forward than most people, and then when I'm talking to you in the DMs, I'm gonna bring the same language there, whether it's text and copy or it's in a voice memo or it's in a video, it's gonna be the same energy. So it's
Yeah.
like it becomes easier for you if you can bring that true authentic self to the content, which I hear, we hear a lot of that, but genuinely, like when I say authentic, I'm talking about like pretend like you're going on a coffee date and like with a friend of yours, and you're just gonna kiki and like chop it up. If you were sitting there having a conversation, how would that come across?
Mhm.
Then take your skill set, your niche, whatever, and start filming content with that same energy, but then just bring your nuance, like bring that
Yeah.
niche. And then when you can do that, like you've mastered content for your branding. Like my branding fits me. We don't have the same branding,
Mhm.
but our messages or the topics we're talking about are similar.
Yeah.
You will have your audience, I will have my audience, which is again why the collaboration versus competition thing doesn't even exist because we are in different books
Mhm.
and maybe we're on the same shelf
Yeah.
or you're on a higher shelf or whatever, but, like, we're in the same library, but, like, our audiences are gonna be different, and I think that that's where that that collaboration competition thing, it like just completely dissolves because, that doesn't exist. But I think that when you have that is where you create the separation. Like people will want to work with me because of the energy that I bring, and people will want to work with you because of the energy that you bring.
Mhm.
So then when I'm in the DMs and I can keep that same energy, like imagine if it went from me in my videos, but like you were messaging them in my DMs, that's where like the wires would get crossed because your energy is completely different, your brand is different, your voice is different.
Yeah.
So they were definitely some people would be like, "Is this low?" Because it's like it doesn't feel the same. So that's why like scripting, um you can have, like, a templated version of your scripts, but I do
Yeah.
think that, like, if you're a setter or if you're, like, a closer or if you're, trying to be more professional in your DMs because you wanna keep a certain status,
Mhm.
that's where, like, I think business owners kinda fuck up because
Yeah.
then they try to bring something else to the DMs, and it gets real weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the content in terms of how to make sure that it's designed to convert versus just views? Because your content's very direct and you do certain things that are like, "Hey, message me right now in order for, X, Y, and Z to get this outcome." So, like, were you seeing before that some stuff wasn't working? I know that's what you were talking to me about before. You're like, "Hey, like, my branding was not getting me the type of lead that I wanted," and then you changed it. So, like, where did that realization come from, and what would come up with an idea to make something convert? Like, help me understand your process on that because I
Yeah.
think that before and I think in some of your videos that you were mentioning, you're like, "I was doing that, I'm getting great all these leads, but the quality sucked
Mhm.
so bad, and I needed a higher quality lead, so I changed what I was saying to talk to them."
Yeah, so story on this, about a year and a half ago, almost, like, 2 years now, I was, like, creating content, doing the call to actions. I had calls booked. I was having conversations in the DMs. I was like, "Let's fucking go. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have a great month," right? I get on all these calls with
You're
people
stacked.
stacked, like, booked and busy, right? Whatever. So I have all these calls stacked on my calendar, having conversations in the DMs, and then all of a sudden, like, people are no-showing to my calls, which hadn't happened in, like, years, and I was like, "Okay." People were no-showing, or the leads would get on calls and, like, waste my time or just didn't have the budget. People were in my DMs, like, looking I call them gimme, gimme leads. It's the ones that are like, "Gimme, gimme." Like, they're just like, "Give me all the things," and I'm like, "Bitch, you gotta pay me." But it's like they would have their hands out as that type of lead, and I get
Mm,
it, like, you wanna ask the questions, and I don't blame people for wanting to do that, but as we know, like, if I'm a business owner and I'm running a small team, like, I have bills to pay, I'm running a team like, we're working with clients, like, paying clients, like, I can't just be out here in my DM spending the majority of my time giving away free value when I
yeah.
have clients who are paying me tens of thousands of dollars to, like, help them level up in their business. So, essentially, like, at that time when I was having all those, like, gimme, gimme leads who were messaging me and, like, wasting my time essentially, I was pissed because I was getting on calls with people who were not ready to pay, and then I was getting so mad, so I was, like, blaming my audience, I was blaming the people in the DMs, I was blaming the people
Mhm.
who book calls, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding? Like, you're seriously gonna waste my time?" And I had this entitlement while I was on my calls, like, someone would no-show, and I'd be like, "Are you joking? Like, do you know who I am?" Like, in this ego and this
Yeah.
pride, I'm like I look back at it, I'm like, "Girl, you need to relax."
Yeah.
Um, but it was at that time where I was like, "Yo, the common denominator is me."
Yeah.
If I don't like the leads in my DMs, if I don't like the people who are booking calls with me, if I don't like the, like, payment plan situations I had to create, the friction in the sales process, like, I was directly correlated to that. So the content that I was posting at the time was a direct reflection of the was the lead that I was getting was a direct reflection of the content I was posting. I didn't like the leads because I thought that they were poor and they didn't wanna buy and they weren't serious and they weren't ready. But the content I was creating was a reflection of that. So, there's this, like, thing that we talk about in our team where we focus on creating 2,000 or $20,000 type of content. So, we're solving the 2,000 or $20,000 problem. We're not gonna solve the $2,200 problem. And at the time, I was talking on content that was solving the $200 problem. So, I was getting $200 leads.
Mm.
And so when I'm pitching my $2,000 offer or $20,000 offer, I was getting people who had the $200 budget, and then I'm, like, pissed on the call, like, "Why are you not buying?" It was the content. So I think, like, the biggest thing I had to do in my content was more so focus on what was that $2,000 problem, and so I call it the 0 method, and it's like you add a 0 to, like, the budget that you want someone to have to your content.
Mm.
So to give you an example of this would be, like, the $2 problem would be, like, how to, like, start growing online.
Mm.
It's like, okay, like, here's how to edit, here's how to post, here's how to trim, find an audio. $2 problem. Add a zero, the $20 problem. It's like, well, how do I like start to kind of diversify it so maybe I can get like more followers? So then now the new problem is followers. Oh, like post 2 times or 3 times a day and like, find the trending audio and maybe diversify and do some short form and long form. Then I added a zero, $200 to solve the $200 problem. Okay, well, now these people who are like maybe wanting to like get online, who like want the followers, now maybe want to start a business. So it's like, the $200 problem is like, how do I, like, get people who are interested in what I'm doing in my niche who would maybe, like, consider buying something from me? $200 problem. Then the $2,000 problem from there would be, like, okay, people who are coming to my page are probably, if I'm talking about sales specifically, um, probably, like, are business owners or coaches who, like, wanna start getting their first client
Mhm.
or have a few clients, but, like, just don't feel like they're converting enough or optimizing that enough, and it could be closing more clients, but, like, don't really have a sales process and struggle with that. So they struggle with confidence, they struggle with, like, a proper structure on a sales call, not getting lost in conversation, keeping the
Mm.
authority. That's a topic that's, like, maybe a $2,000 topic, and so I'll add that. And then the $20,000 one is, like, the business owner who has a sales team, who has the setters and closers, or they themselves are doing it. They're closing pretty proficiently. They are already making, and I only say this amount because it just gives you an idea, but they're already making maybe 10,000 a month as a minimum. So there's proof of concept. The offer is valid, like there's validity with what they're doing
Mhm.
and it works, but now they want to diversify and scale the business maybe more. They need more people on their team because they have so many leads. Or, so then now my headline, the $20,000 problem is like, you know, how to get your closers to convert more on sales calls, kind of like you would as the owner. So
Mhm.
the problem is I need my closers to convert like I would if I was taking calls.
Yeah.
So as I'm like creating my content, I'm adding a zero to the problem to identify what I need to speak on to sign that type of client.
Yeah, just speak to them, what
Yeah.
they're doing. No, I like that a lot. Um, but you do all your content yourself, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So what's your process? Because for me, what I do cycling with my cycle. I don't know if you do that at all.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. So your body changes, every week, right? As a woman. So I do all my content typically like when I'm ovulating because I'm in a place where I can create more life and have more energy and stuff. So that's the week that I do, and I try to batch it out like all at once. Do you batch out your stuff all at once, or do you do it throughout the month, or do you like have somebody that comes up with all the ideas? Do you do all the ideas? Like, how does that work?
So I'm like a firm believer in like not batching content.
Okay.
The reason that is because I feel like when you batch content, unless you really know your industry well, it becomes difficult because things in the world are changing literally on a hour to hour basis, day to day basis. And so I think what's relevant today may not be relevant in 7 days, which I know sounds absolutely insane. I think that there's some things that you can batch, especially if you've already done this and like you're good at what you do and you know your thing. But for people who are not maybe yet at that point, I'm really big on filming throughout the week multiple times.
Mm.
I'm actually more, I stand firmer on like my time and energy. So making sure that the quality of my content is what it's supposed to be. And it's also very relevant. So it's like I will film maybe 2, 3 times a week. I film at most about an hour. And my goal is to knock out 2 to 6 videos in that 1 hour. Sometimes on days where I'm not feeling my best, it's two. And then some days where I'm killing it, it's six. Um, Again, this helps me to kind of stay on a consistent cycle where I feel like the content's super relevant. And I'm also talking on topics that I feel inspired by, which I think is important for how it's being emulated online. Because if I'm just filming and I am batching and this is just personal, I don't feel I don't feel invested in it. And it's like you have to be, for me at least, invested in my content. Like people can feel my energy in my content. They understand how important something is or how passionate I am about something. Maybe this is like a growth thing that I need to have where I can be like, well, just turn it on and batch the content. Like I'm not a circus monkey. Like I'm not. That's not my
Yeah.
thing. Um, and so I don't do the batching content piece. I just do it when it feels authentic and organic to me. I do have like still like time blockings for filming. So like let's also come correct and be
Yeah.
disciplined and have that scheduled. But there's times I still had it scheduled, but like if I already filmed 6 videos, and I have that other block open, I don't go and film just for the sake of filming. If I've filmed the 6, 7 videos I want to film, I will wait till the next opportunity that week to do it if I want to, and then film there. So I think it's all about relevance because like I've seen people who batch content like months in advance, and it's like their shit flops because social media is
Right.
changing so quickly. So that's why I do it the way that I do it. And again, I think it speaks for itself, like it does well
I
enough. Yeah.
I think it's important also to get into your body though and to be intentional with what you're doing. I know we're running out of time here. I really want to hear what you've done because I can tell you're in a place where you're grounded and you're present and like you've gone internally and worked on you to be the woman that you are today. So, like without getting, you don't have to go into too much detail, but of like anything bad that had happened to you or whatnot, but like what was the catalyst for the work and what have you done?
Um, yeah, I think like so people talk a lot about like regulating your nervous system, and I don't
Yeah.
think people really understand what that is, and we keep hearing this language of like regulate your nervous system. It's like that's a really difficult thing for people to do when you live in the world that we live in right now,
Yeah.
when there's like a lot of shit going on. I think it's about having that awareness. Growing up, I lived in fight or flight, which is like energetically exhausting.
Yeah.
And so if you're just constantly in that position, you don't even know that you're tired. Like it's like something you're used to doing. So I think a big thing for me was recognizing like the consequences or results of things that didn't turn out the way that I wanted to. Like after the fact, like I would see it, I'd be like, that was not the result I wanted. Like that was not how I wanted it to turn out. And I was tired of that happening where things didn't go in my favor, to be quite
Mm.
honest. Like I was annoyed. So I was like, clearly, I'm the common denominator. You can't control other people. You can only control yourself. So it was more about me trying to find like true joy or just trying to find like a space for me to feel um like myself and feeling accepted. I've constantly been told like you're too much, you're too bold, you speak too fast, you're too masculine, you're too this, that, and the third. And I used to like believe those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, hold the fuck up. Like those are really great assets that I do have. Maybe they're just not, it's not a power, it's a superpower that I haven't yet controlled. How can I like look into that and dive into it deeper? So I think,
What if the too much and the too bold and the too this, the too that was the permission that somebody else needed
yeah,
in order for them to accept themselves and you being the too bold and the too much or whatever, you being that authentically with yourself gave somebody permission to live their life and to light up their world. Like, you have no idea. The only reason why I'm going into that is I had somebody tell me the exact same thing where I was like bawling my eyes at some conference saying like I didn't raise my hand for this exercise because I was sick and tired of everyone thinking that I'm always trying to be first or whatever. So I didn't raise my hand and then I didn't get picked and I was all frustrated. And I'm like, "Well, when is it gonna be my turn? Because I want other people to go because 'cause I'm trying to be polite and trying to be nice, but then I miss my turn. But if I go first, then people are thinking, 'Oh, well, she's full of herself.'"
hmm
'Cause I have a big ass personality too. Like,
yeah,
it's a lot for some people. And I had this woman, her name was Jenna, she looked me dead in the eyes, and she was so like, "Don't you ever play small again. Don't you ever dim your light because your light will light other people's lights, and your light low lights other people up. There's so many people that watch you and that are inspired by you just being who the fuck you are, and you don't have to do anything. Like, that light is producing more lights. You're their permission."
yeah. I think that's a big piece. And I think that's why I just leaned into that a little bit more. So that's why I'm like sales daddy low. It's like I have the different type of urban kind of like more ethical approach to sales. I don't have a background in the sales industry. Like I didn't get the traditional sales background or training, didn't join this membership, the medallion that the platinum missed. I didn't do those things. And like I've learned sales through the most authentic and original way that you can by having a business and selling your own product and being really fucking shitty at it and being sad because you're not making enough money.
Mhm.
And that is like, oh, like, well, I want to make more. Well, great, get better at this skill and like
Yeah.
get better. And how do you get better? You take more and more sales calls. And so I think it's like you have to humble yourself enough to know that. And then you also have to, at some point, you're not going to be confident doing it. You become confident the more you repeat behaviors that end with a positive result. It shows you that it works, which then produces the confidence. You're not going to be confident before you do those things. Like in our team, another core value of ours is fail as fast as possible, fail fast. The more you can fail, like, if I'm excited about that and I'm, like, encouraging my team to fail, like, fail, figure it out, like, try it, see if it works, the more you can fail, the better, the faster you get to the result you're looking for. So, I feel like that's a really big aspect in sales and in business in general is, like, take the sales calls, embarrass yourself. You have to be the person who's, like, totally okay with being the most embarrassed. And, like, I'm totally fine with being embarrassed. Like, there's nothing that someone can say, you, that person, anybody else, you that can say to me that can make me feel any type of way about myself that I don't already know or don't already experience. So I think, like, that's like, just embarrass yourself and be, like, okay with that or be okay with being embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not okay, that means that you don't feel like you're enough or there's something inside of you that has some belief system that you're not, like, good with you, right? Which goes back to what we talked about originally, which was probably taking accountability and responsibility for being the common denominator and, looking within and doing the work, you know? Like, if somebody hasn't had the chance or the willingness to do the work, they're gonna be heavily offended by someone else's opinion of them because they don't know themselves,
Yeah.
you know? It's just what it is. Um, One last thing here that I wanted to ask you as we close this out. If you were looking back on, like, little Lauren and you were to give her advice, like the little Lauren that was in the fight or flight mode all the time, that she was living there, like, what would you tell that younger version of yourself?
Um, this question's always so hard. This one and then, like, what are your plans in 5 years? I'm like, I don't fucking know what I'm doing tomorrow, you know? Um, and then everyone always says, like, it's okay to be loud, like that whole spiel, which I agree with, and I think it's great. Um, I would just, like, hype myself up, like, "You are that bitch," like,
Mm,
"You are that one." There's gonna be an audience there for you when you're ready to receive it, and, like, you're so powerful, and it's like you don't even understand, like, what you're capable of doing, and, you know, the whole, like, having that light and keeping it bright and shining on people, like, shine on them, fucking shine on them, like, that's walk into the room and have a bit of that chip on your shoulder. People who talk about people being too cocky or too confident, like, fuck that. Like, you have to go into your business, into your life like you're the superstar. Like, you're the Denzel Washington of your own life, and it's like, if
mhm,
you're not doing that and you're, like, the feature and that's how you view your life, like, you only get to live your life in this body, in this form, one time, regardless of your religious belief, this way.
mhm,
Make the most of it.
mm,
That's what I
I
would
like
say.
that. Well, Lo, it was such an honor to meet you in person. I want everyone to find you. So where should they go to find you? How can they work with you? Who do you specifically work with as well, just so that there's clarity for
Yeah,
everybody?
I work with business owners. I work with other like coaches online who, or even in person, who are really focused on like finding and signing high ticket clients, high paying clients for their businesses, or they have like whether they're closing for themselves and they need to learn and master that skill set, or like they have a setting, like a setters and closer team
Mhm,
that needs that training. I primarily work with people who don't just want to create like one stream of income through actively signing one-on-one clients consistently, but want to really like sell or have like passive offers or even have like lower higher ticket offers like
mhm,
$1,000, $3,000 offers, sell directly in the DMs. That's like a big thing for me just to save yourself time and teach either yourself or your setters or closers how to do that for you so you can get some of your time back because that's, like, my major like, that's what I like to do with my time, like, I like to travel. I don't wanna be, like, chained to my one-on-one clients, like, I was able to come do this today because I don't have a million and one clients. That does not do great for my nervous system, so have to keep it, like, very limited and high quality. So, yeah, those are, like, the main people that I work with. You can find me on Instagram at @lowsilver_. You can also find me on TikTok as well, but yeah, those are the ways to find me, work with me. Y'all can reach out. You can shoot me a DM. Imma close you, and Imma close you. Um, and I have a few things. I have some one-on-one opportunities to work with me directly, and then I have our silver selling system, which is, like, my full selling system from beginning to end, which is the moment that, someone comes onto your page on
mhm,
social media to the moment, like, to close them, whether that's on a sales call or directly in the DMs. So, like, that's my full process
mhm.
in the silver selling system, so those are the
I love it. Isn't it called the silver but gold?
that's the yeah, the name of the business, so it's Lauren Silver, but everything I do is gold. ting, and that's like where we edit, where it's like, ah, it's just like that little.
Okay. What is one thing that you wanna leave? So, like, somebody's watching this right now, and maybe they're looking at you, they're looking at me, they're looking at us, and they're like, "Man, like, I wanna be that. I wanna do that. Something inside me holds me back. Something inside me doesn't feel confident. Like, maybe I didn't go through something where I had to overcome it and have this strength." What would you tell that person? Like, what encouragement would you give to her?
Kayla, I don't know if I'm the one to ask because I'm kind of mean.
I want the mean. I want just give the big sister, like, kick
Yeah.
in the ass that they need.
Um, this goes back to like my main core value, which is DWR. Do what's fucking required.
Yeah.
Period. Like, do what's required. No one gives a fuck if you're tired. No one cares. I can't stand like this one thing. I love all my moms out there. But if we use our kids or our partners or our dog or our situations as crutches or excuses for not doing what we're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
it's like I can't stand that people are like, well, I can't afford that because I have kids. I'm like, you can afford it because you have kids.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Can't
can't
afford not to
afford
do
not
it.
to do it because you have
Yeah.
kids. So I would just say like do what's fucking required and just make a decision today. Would you like to be mediocre? Or would you like to go get the thing that you really want to get? And chances are, if you actually go hard at it 100%, you'll probably land there. And if you don't, you'll land at least greater than where you're at. But if you
Mhm.
don't and you're like halfway in, halfway out, just choose being mid. Like make the choice to be mid and like be like 100% cool with being mid. Like, yo, I'm gonna be the best mid person at this, and then like be that person. But like, don't be like, yo, I want to be the best, and then like give mid behavior. Like that's
Yeah.
not how that works.
Yeah. Because who you are behind closed doors is who you are really.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many people, they want other people to see them as the extraordinary or, like, the athlete or whatever, but you're gonna prove what you can do when you're on the field.
Yeah. The
You
energy you give is the energy you get. So it's like what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And if you want to be mid, give mid energy. If you want to be excellent, give excellent energy all the time.
Alright, thank you so much for being here.